there in times of need for all of us. I could recount the June 12th episode, our protest and the balance for our resistance, our determination to reverse the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. Baba was steadfast, he was resolute and very encouraging. That he lived to see the calendar as a 91-year-old person, to be honored at his 90th birthday at the Grand Commander of Order of Nigeria, GCON. I'm very honest, very bold, and very truthful. We will not deceive you. Tinubu urged politicians as well as sons and daughters of Ijebu land to be more united, bonded by the spirit that he left behind, cherish his legacies. Ijebu Day was aglow with festivities as eminent Nigerians from various walks of life joined the family, associate, and resident in honoring the first-class traditional ruler. For more on that story, you can check The Nation this morning.
Okay, moving on to the Vanguard. Perogi apologizes to Aisha Buhari over divorce allegations. Farouk Perogi, a professor of journalism and emerging media at Kennesaw State University, has issued an unreserved apology to former First Lady Aisha Buhari over his recent claim that she was no longer married to the late former President Muhammadu Buhari. In a Facebook post on Sunday, July 20th, Perogi described his action as one of the worst and cruelest lapses of judgment he has ever made, admitting that it has caused him immense personal anguish. He said, "To Mrs. Aisha Buhari, I offer my heartfelt and unreserved apology for the needless and deeply regrettable hurt I have caused. I am truly sorry," he wrote. Perogi had, in an earlier Facebook post dated July 16th, claimed that the former First Lady had divorced the late President, reverted to her maiden name Alilu, and was reluctant to care for Buhari during his illness. However, in his retraction, Perogi explained that although the information came from a highly trusted source, sharing it publicly was a grave mistake. Going public with the information was an error on my part, as not every well-sourced information is for public consumption, he stated. The academic said it was a former aide to the First Lady, Alhaji Sani Zoro, who he respects deeply, that reached out to correct the record. Perogi acknowledged Mrs. Buhari's exclusive right to define the state of her marriage. Mrs. Buhari herself has the ultimate authority and right to define the status of her marriage. Her truth should be respected as supreme, whatever other facts may exist, he said. While maintaining he acted without malice, Perogi conceded that the pain caused by his actions outweighed any justification for public disclosure. He said, "I shouldn't have shared it publicly, period. Doing so violated every moral and ethical principle I cherish and uphold," he added. For more stories like that, you can check the Vanguard.
Okay, we're still on The Nation, and we are going to Ekiti State right now. Experts seek domestication of disability law in Ekiti. An expert who is also the President National Association of Special Education Teachers, NASED, Dr. Catherine Ateng, has urged Ekiti State government to establish a special commission for persons with disabilities and domesticate the national disability law signed by the former President Buhari in 2019. She said creating the commission, domesticating the disability law, and establishing rehabilitation centers in Ekiti State, 3 senatorial districts, will unleash leadership potential among persons with disabilities and foster self-reliance. Speaking at the association's 36th annual conference with the theme Transformative Solutions and Inclusive Education for Learners with Disabilities, hosted by Governor Abiodun Oyebanji, Atang defined the inclusive education as tailoring instruction to individuals' abilities, leveraging assistive technologies, and developing the curricula reflecting diverse experience. He lauded Governor Oyebanji for prioritizing persons with special needs, noting his administration's infrastructure investment catering to their requirements. In recognition of Oyebanji's impact on disability inclusion and special education, NASET conferred Oyebanji its prestigious fellowship award. Also honored was NASET member Mr. Akinbode Olaoye, who was recognized for his decade-long commitment to persons with disabilities in Nigeria and beyond. Olaoye's contributions include advocacy for the visually impaired, support for Braille literacy programs, adaptation for Nigerians, 9-year basic education curriculum for special need learners, reforming Yoruba Braille Code, authoring 4 books chapters, and securing multi-million naira research grants and representation at the local and international conferences, among others. Olaoye and fellow awardees reaffirmed their commitment to NASET and advance inclusive education advocacy in Nigeria.
Okay, still on the Vanguard, we have this. Force headquarters warns against misinformation over retired police officers' protest. IGP Egbetokun orders protection for retirees, says protest must not be hijacked. The Nigeria Police Force is cautioned against the deliberate spread of misinformation surrounding the planned peaceful protest by retired police officers across the country, saying such narratives are being twisted to discredit the federal government and undermine the current police leadership. In a strongly worded statement issued on Sunday, the Force Public Relations Officer Muyiwa Adejobi described attempts by certain individuals to politicize the retirees' grievances as disruptive and manipulative. It is disheartening to observe how certain actors have chosen to politicize a sensitive welfare issue, weaponizing the legitimate grievance of our retired colleagues for ulterior motives, Adejobi said. According to him, while the agitations for improved pensions, particularly the call for the exit from the Contributory Pension Scheme (CPS), are valid and long-standing, some agitators are exploiting the issue to inflame public sentiment and erode public trust in law enforcement institutions. The statement, titled "Peaceful Protest by Retired Police Officers, Police Sets Records Straight, Assures of Security Preservations of Dignity," clarified that the police are not opposed to the protest but are committed to ensuring it remains peaceful and respected. Adejobi noted that the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has directed all state commissioners of police, especially in the FCT and other locations where formal notice has been given, to provide adequate security for the protesting retirees and prevent the hijack of the protest by miscreants or political actors. The IGP has ordered that the rights of our retired officers who have chosen to protest must be protected, and the protest should serve as a model of dignified expression of grievance, he added. The Force headquarters highlighted ongoing efforts by the current police leadership to address retirees' welfare through both policy engagement and innovative support mechanism.
Okay, from there we go to Zamfara State, still on the nation, and it's looking like the crisis, the legal tussle rocking the Zamfara State House of Assembly. Court stops Zamfara Assembly Speaker Aliyu 8 others from parading themselves as Assembly members. The High Court of Justice in Zamfara State has issued an interim order restraining Honorable Bashar Aliyu from parading himself as the Speaker of the State House of Assembly. The order granted by Justice Mohammed Gaza also bar 8 other individuals from presenting themselves as members of the Assembly or conducting any legislative functions pending the determination of a substantive motion before the court. Ruling on a motion filed by the Zamfara State House of Assembly dated June 23, 2025, the judge held that the first respondent, Aliyu, by himself and his agent, employees, officials, or any other persons acting on his behalf is hereby restrained in the interim for parading himself as the Speaker of the applicant or assuming the functions of the Speaker of the applicant, pending the hearing and the determination of the motion. The court also directed the second to the 9th respondent, along with their agent and associate, must refrain from holding any legal sittings or making any resolutions aimed at appointing a speaker until the motion is fully held. For more on that story, you check The Nation this morning.
Okay. Weeks in, weeks out, we've been talking about Natasha, and on the Punch newspaper today, we have this. Senate wants Natasha to stay away from National Assembly. The Senate has once suspended Kogi lawmaker, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, to desist from forcefully resuming her legislative duties on Tuesday until the expiration of her suspension. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, gave the warning in a statement issued on Sunday. While insisting that no valid court order mandates her immediate recall, Adaramodu emphasized that the Senate remains committed to due process and the rule of law. He said, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria wishes to reaffirm for the third time that there is no subsisting court order mandating the Senate to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan before the expiration of her suspension. The clarification followed media reports quoting the embattled lawmaker as saying she would return to the Senate on Tuesday, allegedly based on a judgment by Justice Binta Onyanko of the Federal High Court in Abuja. However, Adaramodu said the Senate had previously issued two public statements after the court ruling and the release of the certified true copy of the enrolled order, making it clear that no positive or mandatory directive was issued against the Senate regarding a recall. Rather, the Honorable Court gave a non-binding advisory urging the Senate to consider amending its standing orders and reviewing the suspension, which it opined might be excessive. The court, however, explicitly held that the Senate did not breach any law or constitutional provision in imposing the disciplinary measures based on the senator's misconduct during plenary, he said. The Senate further noted that the same court found Akpoti-Uduaghan guilty of contempt and imposed penalties, including a 5 million naira fine payable to the federal government and a mandatory apology in two national newspapers and on her Facebook page, a directive that has reportedly not been complied with. It is therefore surprising and legally untenable that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, while on appeal and have filed a motion for stay against the valid and binding orders made against her, is attempting to act upon an imaginary order of recall that does not exist. The Senate spokesperson added he warned that any move by the suspended lawmaker to storm the Senate next Tuesday under a false pretext would be premature, disruptive, and a breach of legislative order. The Senate will, at the appropriate time, consider the advisory opinion of the court on both amending the standing orders of the Senate, recall, and communicate the same thereof to Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. Until then, she is respectfully advised to stay away from the Senate chambers and allow due process to run its full course, the statement concluded. For more of stories like this, you check the Punch newspaper.
Now, before we move on to the next story, speaking of Natasha Isusa, I think she's just from the statement, from the story,
Yes.
it's like she's planning to storm.
She's planning to storm, and the Senate is like, no, there was nothing that says you should come back. We only
Forcefully.
said no. She is coming forcefully, and the Senate is telling her that no, we did not. There was no court order that said you should come.
Reinstated forcefully.
Yes.
Okay.
So the thing is, you should still hold on until your suspension elapsed. Then you can be recalled. But for now, stay put, and we don't want to see you.
Until the process of reinstatement is completed. That is it.
Yes.
Okay, for ceremony held at the institution stadium in Ede, Osun State. The business magnate decried the role of security agencies, election officials, and other stakeholders in manipulating election outcomes, saying such act can damage Nigeria's global reputation. It is unfortunate that our political system does not allow our votes to count, Dr. Adeleke stated. This failure in our democratic process discourages foreign investors from putting their money into our economy. The result is massive unemployment, especially among the youth. He lamented that while Nigeria continues to lose credibility on the global stage due to electoral fraud, its brightest talent are thriving abroad in countries where democratic institutions are protected and functional. Dr. Adeleke called for urgent reforms in Nigeria's electoral and political structures to restore confidence among citizens, attract investment, and create opportunities for the country's teeming youth population. However, I do not blame the politicians, but the electorate who collect money before voting. The man you collect his money will recoup the fund after such election, and you do not have the right to criticize his style. I pray that none of the graduates today will have to wait for 5 years to get job. He noted that you see policemen and security agencies aiding and abetting election rigging. I shake my head and I said they don't know the damage they are doing to their own children. He urged stakeholders to raise and reject electoral fraud in all its entirety to make Nigeria become a country all citizens are proud of, which will make life easy for all. In the address of Governor Ademola Adeleke, who bagged honorary doctorate, said, "The power of voters to enthrone leaders through the ballot as being our greatest asset. We belong to the people, and we acknowledge the love and the deep love from the street and every corner of Osun State." He noted as his administration served the people diligently for almost 3 years by demonstrating that good governance is achievable with political will and deep interest of the people. For more, check The Nation this morning.
Okay, before we move on to the next newspaper story, newspaper review stories, I would like to talk about the electoral fraud that he's talking about. Truly, the electoral fraud has eaten deep into the electoral system. It's like a canker worm that has eaten deep into the root, and I feel until we get it right with the electoral process, we are always going to keep complaining about the leaders. Just like he said, when you collect money to instate someone into those positions, they go back there and then they get this money and you are left behind, and you can't, and you cannot complain that, oh, what is happening, because now if you complain, that means your system is not working. So they would always have to keep it to themselves, and even though they know the system is not working, but what can they say when they were the one that put these people, like the electoral fraud that we're talking about? But then,
in reacting to that, actually,
yes,
we really need to look at it beyond that. It's definitely going to be part of the discussion.
It's going to be part of the discussion.
The issue of the electoral constitution,
fraud,
creating
yes,
loopholes for electoral fraud and
which
manipulation.
has in turn gotten to the point of political apathy for the citizens
Absolutely,
of the country. So yes, we have a lot to talk about. We'll talk more on that during the show. Then moving to the next story from Punch, we have, from tribute to tension, how Buhari's burial sparked political storm. The passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari has not only stirred national mourning, but also reignited political calculations ahead of the 2027 general election, as tributes poured in accusations of political exploitation surfaced, exposing the relationship between Buhari and his successor, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the jostling between various parties to claim the late leader's support base. Ismail Uthman writes, former President Muhammadu Buhari has remained a valuable political asset in life and in death to many politicians, especially those in the All Progressive Congress and the African Democratic Party. Both the APC, led by President Bola Tinubu, and the ADC have been scheming to inherit Buhari's support base ahead of the 2027 presidential election. Judging by the actions and inactions before, during, and after Buhari's burial. Buhari passed away at about 4:30 p.m. in a London clinic on July 12 at the age of 82. Tinubu took charge of Buhari's burial from the announcement of his death to the final moments of interment. He dispatched Vice President Kashim Shettima to the UK to accompany the body of the former president back to Nigeria. Tinubu was also in Dara, Buhari's hometown, to receive his predecessor's cup for befitting burial. He said his last respect to the former president by bowing to his remains before interment, a gesture that made the front page of most Nigerian dailies. However, Sunday Punch noted that opposition's coalition leader, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party Peter Obi, and the immediate past governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai had no noticeable presence during the burial. Similarly, Buhari's vice, Yemi Osibanjo, was reduced to commentator, according to the former Minister of Youth and Sport, Solomon Dalong. After the funeral, Tinubu led a special Federal Executive Council meeting on Thursday where glowing tributes were paid to the former president. Buhari's son Yusuf also attended the meeting. To crown it all, Tinubu renamed the University of Maiduguri, Borno State as Muhammadu Buhari University. Tinubu's energy and special attention to Buhari's burial had continued to generate controversies as political analysts expressed divergent views on the matter. While some accused Tinubu of hypocrisy, others defended the president, saying he was simply being responsible and giving a befitting burial to a friend and predecessor. For more stories, you can check The Punch.
Yeah, I'm leaving the nation for Daily Trust, and I have the story, almost a sad story that turned to testimony in Katsina. Katsina governor involved in road accident. The development, which created stir on social media, occurred along the Daura-Katsina road. Mohammed Jama, a social media user known as White Nigerian, had tweeted about the incident on Sunday evening. Reports indicate that Governor Diko Rada of Katsina State was involved in a car accident while traveling from Daura to Katsina. He sustained fracture and is currently receiving treatment at the Federal Medical Center, FMC, in Daura. Thankfully, he has been stabilized. We retired. Okay, I think that does it for that story. And I'm afraid that's much we can take on newspaper review this morning, and it's really been an interesting time. So when we come back, it will be time to look at the topical issue of the day. Stay, we'll be right back. Welcome back. In case you are just joining us, it's AM Today, and we want to get straight into the topic of today, which is on leadership, governance, and the people, bridging the trust gap. What are the causes? Why are the people losing confidence in the system? Are people no longer in touch with the reality of good governance? And to discuss that with us in this morning, we have been joined by an advocate of good governance, Mr. Temitope Kolawole. Good morning, Mr. Temitope. You're welcome on the show.
Good morning, sir.
So let's begin with leadership and accountability. One of the dividends of democracy, because the citizens are empowered with that right to vote for who we represent and serve their interest. And how do we rate leadership accountability in Nigeria? To what extent our leaders are accountable to their citizens, given the fact that they are the ones that actually employ them to serve them? What do you make of that? To what extent? I want you to react to that.
Talking about leadership accountability, I mean, it's a triangle. It's a three-way thing. You have the leaders, you have governance, then you have the people. So it's all about the feedback. What do I enjoy being citizen where you govern?
Okay.
Yes, I mean, leadership is not rocket science. It's a function of people. We both agree that this is our leader by going through our electorate process, and by chance, by election, you become the leader. And so talking about the disconnection between the leader and follower citizenry, so to say,
okay,
it's a long time issue of breach of trust. That's the reason for the major disconnection. Yeah, because the level of accountability at a point has been abridged, and people do no longer trust the process. For instance, let's take it from my parents, grandparents still queuing at the pension board after they've retired from serving for 35 or more years. And how do you want me to be diligent in offering my service for my state, where I work, knowing that, I mean, that this is where survival instinct come in. Yeah, you thinking that what does your after your 35 years look like? So corruption, disconnection, and breach trust comes in, and you see people are not really connected to their leaders. People start looking for means. People start looking on how to pour fuel in their generator, how to get their light for themselves, how to protect themselves by themselves, how to make sure that they have access to that good road by themselves. So yeah, so the trust between the giver and the receiver has been connected, although we all have roles to play as a leader and as a follower, so to say. Yeah.
Okay, so you would agree with me that there is political apathy within the citizens of Nigeria? Because looking, I think few weeks ago actually, the government came and they said they were going to give a fine, which they later came back to say, okay, no, for people that don't come out and vote. So I would say, what do you think should be done? What should people do now to encourage? What should the government do to encourage the citizens to come out to vote? Because I think the fine thing that they said, oh, they were going to pay, it's not going to work, and they actually came back and said, okay, no, it's not. They removed it. So yes, now the thing is, what can they now do to ensure that citizens actually come out and vote? Because the reason they are not voting is because they don't trust that their votes would actually count. So what are those things that should be done?
Yeah, voters apathy is actually a thing for a generation that's no more believing in the government
yes.
to provide their daily means. In a situation whereby we now pray for our daily bread, which is not supposed to be in one of our prayer points. So talking about how we can now start trusting and but the truth is that our political process has been really, really transformative. We've moved from, there was a time that in election period people come out, people get to get killed. In election period, we left that stage. There was a point that we moved to ballot snatching. So that process of.
Do you feel we've actually left that stage?
Yes, we have.
Are you sure we have?
Yes, I'll get there. I'll get there. Now, if your vote does not count,
okay.
Why do you think vote buying? No, let's not get there yet. Why do you think vote buying is now a thing? That means that the electoral policies are now working, and your vote are now counting. So if your vote are not counting, why would someone want to come out to buy your vote?
Is in two process: the people and the electoral bodies itself.
Okay.
So yes, even if they buy the votes at the electoral body, they still need to do some manipulations for it to work. So it's not just the buying of the vote that is making the old that's causing the whole political apathy or people feeling like, oh, their vote doesn't count. Because even those that still vote for the people that they want at the electoral institutions also have a role to play. So that's still why they say, oh, do you feel my vote actually count? Even if I put this person or I put that person, at the end of the day, there are still some things that still go on in the background that we are not aware. So I think that is what is causing political apathy, and not even the buying of the vote, because it's on two different levels, the people and the institution.
Let's not overflog this. But the truth is that the truth is that your vote counts, and that is why the issue of I'm not come here to establish that there is vote buying.
Okay.
I've come here to say that there are tripartite issues we are having. The people, the government, that's a leader, and way of governance. That's what we're discussing about. So looking at it from that angle, I'm establishing the fact that the only way to avert voter apathy is, first of all, trusting the process. Secondly, first of all, trusting the process. Then, trusting the process, and again, making sure. Can you run that question again? Sorry.
Okay.
She was talking about voters and apathy.
Yes.
And what can we do? What are those measures that we put in place to bring out those people that are actually, getting back or laid back from getting involved in the process?
Okay. I was trying to establish that we've moved from a level of kind of electoral practice to another. That voter apathy is not really a thing that the House was trying to put a sanction. A sanction on it. It's just to say that your civic duty is compulsory. That you are as good as if you are quiet and you keep putting the wrong people in our forefront to represent us. You are as good as the wrong person that is in the forefront if you are not contributing your own quota. It's your civic duty to make sure that you have the right leaders. You don't have to wait till a candidate is being elected or picked by a party before you join the processes that bet the leaders. You have to join from congresses. You start from your wards, from your unit to your ward, to your local government, before you come to the state. Okay. So you don't have to say, okay, fine, you have to wait until a party produce a candidate for you before you now say, okay, fine, this is not the right person, this is not the wrong person. So we definitely have to pick from our best. And it starts from me and you getting ourselves involved to bet those kind of leadership we want. Yes.
Okay. Now, speaking of, you quite made mention of the fact that our electoral process is transformative. Though we give it the fact that Nigeria democracy is considered to be nascent, is evolving. But when it comes to elections in Nigeria, compared to other countries, they see election as festival. The way they do things, that they are so eager to go out there and vote. But here in Nigeria, even from the point of view of the federal government, the first thing they do is, they militarize our election, the dispatchment of soldiers. And don't you think that will send some kind of message to the electorate to be afraid not to come out and vote the way we militarize our election in Nigeria? I want you to react.
I'm not an authority in this particular field you just mentioned. Okay. But the truth is that what I've seen on the field, first of all as a foreign observer, and again as a candidate, okay, and again as a voter, I will tell you that the presence of military police on election day is to protect you, the citizenry, and the officers.
Even to the point of bringing out ammunition tanks on the day of election. Should we?
Do you have any? Do you have any evidence to show?
We've seen cases like that. We've witnessed.
No, we
have to go to that extent, because we may probably be suggesting that there is likelihood of violence, and that may, discourage people from staying back to go out and vote.
Yeah, it's possible, but the truth remains that we have to embrace our society. We have to embrace this is our own country, and we don't have any other place to run to. But I think the major, the human factor cannot be erased. Okay. When you put an officer in a particular stage, nobody asks an officer to pull the trigger when you have been assigned on the duty. What you are supposed to do is to protect the lives and property for that period of assignment. So there's no instruction whatsoever that we are going to the field and this was supposed to as against. Yes.
Now, speaking of INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and from that word, the word independent is there. To what extent is INEC independent in Nigeria? I want you to react to that. To what extent? Because given the facts, what we have now is that one of the prerogatives of the president is to appoint the INEC boss, and there is tendency or probably speculations around that the INEC boss is likely to do the biddings of the president, especially if he's a candidate in an election. So what do you make of that?
So the question is it really as independent as the name claims it to be?
Yes, I don't know why you're putting me at the spot on this. ODEC is responsibility of Mr. Governor, and INEC is responsibility of the president. Yes, they appoint and reappoint an individual in a particular office, even INEC. It still boils down to accountability. It still boils down to empathy. It still boils down to transparency. What kind of individual are you, and how much of sincerity are you bringing to fore in a public office? So it still boils down to that. It still boils down to domesticating that this is our own environment and we have to let this country work, this society must work. So it's not a function of is INEC actually independent. It's actually independent, and you must agree with me with all I've said today that we have evolved from a particular era to this era that we have today. Your vote counts, and I want to, because I was a candidate on the ballot 2019, and if there was anything that would make me to go to court was maybe based on some few infringements, but I can say categorically your vote counts, and let's embrace ourselves. But let's join the process. Let's join how it's being run. Let's be part of the process that bet this kind of leaders we have in forefront. Leadership is not, the door to leadership is actually closed. Yeah, you have to break in there.
In Nigeria, when after an election, the political people that came out through political parties, they don't trust the system anymore. You see cases where they have to go to court.
To have a way of trying to hasten up giving judgment as regards elections. So that is not in our own. That's not that's not going to be decided on this table.
Okay. Yeah. Alex.
Okay. Speaking of, I want us to talk about the roles of civil society now in promoting good governance. The case of Sarah, they are there to ensure accountability and transparency in the system. But to some, we tell you they are just a toothless bulldog, because the executive sometimes don't even react to what they come up with. How do we empower the civil society to the point that they can now hold our leaders accountable effectively?
Yeah, empowering the civil society, it's still a function of efficiency.
Okay.
Yes, and giving total power for them to function, like we have the EFCC today.
Okay.
Yeah, that any investigation being handled by EFCC, we respect it. That it's actually a financial crime, so we just employ and appeal to our government to make sure that they're like the setup you had mentioned, that they should give them that power enough to recommend and to take actions on whoever that falls short of the expectation as regards. Yes.
Okay, many young people claim politics is a dirty and corrupt game. How do we encourage these young people to actually now come at and have a different mindset about the political system?
Well, you agree that it's not what it used to be. it's not
so
what
how
it
do
used to be.
we want you to encourage
them? Our parents made us to understand that politics was a murky water, that you see your opposition or anybody that seems to be a block to you.
Yes,
I mean,
your future ambition.
Yes. That was the era of getting people out of the way. So people are now open to contest. People are now open to let's campaign. People are now open to let's get to the ballot. So it's moving from that era, and I do not even envy anybody in a political office today, the post COVID era. Why I do not envy them is that this is a time that you now have young citizens that are woke, that are ready to ask questions as to why is this like this?
Yes.
Why can't you do it like this? What kind of people are now asking questions, like following projects all the way from National Assembly down to the wards and to the local government, making sure that this project really implemented. Are they going on in those environments? These are questions on what are the roles of someone in House of Representative or Senate. They do not know, other than governor and president. Now young folks are getting involved in politics and policy making and interest in. So I will urge my clan. I will urge younger ones that this is a time for us. It's a time for us not to fold our hands and believe that we have other places to run to. We're just going to become a second citizen wherever we go to. So it's a time to come together, put our hands together from the local government. That's why I'm so excited about the local government autonomy, and I want it to be autonomy in the real sense of autonomy, and that's why I'm excited about what's going on in those states right now. And a lot of people are eating the ground and trying to bring governance to the people, closer to the people, and making sure they're enjoying the benefits of democracy.
Okay, still speaking of good governance, we know that to institute good governance in any society, powers of individuals or offices must be cut. So what's your take on, because for quite a time now we've been talking about restructuring, saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So do you believe that the the excesses of the executive should be cut down to pave way for good governance in Nigeria?
You were talking about cost of governance.
Yes, not cost of governance precisely. I'm talking about the power. For instance, the president, the governors, and all other executives, they are like the alpha and omega of wherever they find themselves. So what the evolution of powers, how do we cut down the excessiveness to the point that will help us in making them accountable and giving us good governance?
What I know about the arms of government is the executive implements, the assemblies, that's the legislators.
Okay.
Yeah, they bring they take the information directly from the citizens. They bring it into, they consider it, then they bring it into law. And the executive are the one that execute most of those.
But some will even say, sorry to cut you, some will even say that even though the legislative is to be independent.
I'm trying to address the excessiveness because I don't really understand what you mean by that excessiveness of the
for instance,
executive.
The president, there are some things you want to do in Ondo State, for instance. Maybe if you don't pass through Abuja, you don't get whatever you want. You have to take it to Abuja. So what I'm saying is, how do we decentralize power in Nigeria? Powers of...
Yeah, it comes from this angle of we are getting there. That's I don't even hold brief for the government, not for any governor, for anybody in office. But what I'm trying to say is that it's getting better by the day. That's where the autonomy comes in. If local government can stand on their own and operate,
are they really standing as we speak? Speaking of local government,
we are getting there.
Okay, we are getting there.
We are getting there. You have the 18 local government chairmen inaugurated already. You have the LCDAs resuming office already. With financial autonomy, yes, okay. Yes. You have them doing what they're supposed to do right now. So it's getting. We are restoring the hopes. We are restoring the expectations. Then the level of accountability is getting more clearer. I think what should be done more that I think is lacking is effective communication. For instance, if you have to somewhere outside the country, if you have to increase tax by some amount for a month, 2 months, or 1 year, you have to communicate to the people. This is the reason why we want to increase this tax, and because we want to do this road. That's effective communication. If your salary is going to exceed 25th of the month, it's going to be 30 or the first week of the month, you communicate. These are the reasons why things are not done now, then it will be done later. These are functions. These are what effective communication does. Yes.
So I think it boils down to for the gap between the government and the people to bridge political apathy, we need effective communication, and we need to be the political leaders need to represent us properly.
Yes,
I think these are some of those loopholes that
was where I mentioned empathy.
Yes,
empathy is me putting me in your shoe and knowing what you're going through or what you might be going through by the policy I'm trying to push now.
Yeah, so that means in other sense, political apathy is something that can actually be dealt with.
Definitely.
Yes, if the leaders do the right thing and represent the people in ways that they want to be represented, good ways that also affect the country. You don't have to be too empathetic. When you do that, you don't let your emotions to lead you. You do things that feel like, the citizens actually need. So I think maybe while doing that, you see people will start coming out, believing in the system and vote more. So I think that's what's causing political apathy with the citizens.
Yes, somewhat. Okay. Lack of trust majorly.
Yes, lack of trust. And they would not be represented well.
Well, yes.
Now let's look at the social media space. Speaking of Nigerian youth, from what statistics shows that over 90% of Nigerian youth are on the social media, like 65 are very, very active. Okay, what do we do to convert the majority of them are not traditional voters? What do we do to make them traditional voters in terms of advocacy and the rest?
Yeah, campaigns are done on social media, but elections are not won on social media.
Yes.
Elections are local. So, the only way is still what we've been, it still surround what we've been talking about as far. When I see that going out for me to vote, that my vote really counts.
Okay.
Yes, or going to be counted. Everybody will come out, and when people are now saying that, you're saying that we are making 1.2 trillion as revenue, and it's showing in per capita income, it's showing in your GDP, it's showing in your GNP, and everybody can tell that the factors of development are really showing. People will definitely be convinced and be really managed to be realigning to the okay. Let's give our country the kind of succor our country needs. Then people will start coming back to having that restoration of hope. People will start coming back and say, okay, fine, let's make our country work.
Absolutely, restoration of hope. And to Mr. Tope Kolawole, thank you for your impactful contribution on the show this morning.
Thank you very much, sir.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you what next is on the agenda. Stay, we'll be right back.
Michael Adekunle Ajashi, born November 28, 1908, was a distinguished Nigerian educator, politician, and statesman renowned for his integrity, commitment to democracy, and transformative impact on education in Nigeria. Born in Owo, present-day Ondo State, Ajashi began his education at St. Andrew's College, Oyo, from 1924 to 1927, where he trained as a teacher. He furthered his studies at Fowler Bay College in Sierra Leone, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree in English, Modern History and Economics in 1946. He then obtained a postgraduate diploma in education from the University of London in 1947. Ajashi's career in education commenced with his appointment as principal of Imadi College in Oyo in 1947. He was instrumental in staff development, encouraging teachers to pursue further training at institutions like University College Ibadan. In 1963, he founded Owo High School, serving as the first principal until his retirement in 1975. Ajashi's political journey began in the 1950s as a founding member and national vice president of the Action Group, advocating for policies such as free education, universal health care, and Nigeria's immediate independence. He served as a federal legislator from 1954 to 1966. In 1979, he was elected governor of Ondo State under the Unity Party of Nigeria (UPN), with Akin Omoboriwo as his deputy. His administration prioritized education, establishing the Ondo State University in 1982, now Ekiti State University, and the Polytechnic Owo. In the 1983 elections, Ajashi was initially declared the loser amid allegations of electoral malpractice. However, the Supreme Court later reinstated him, affirming his victory. His tenure was cut short by the military coup on 31 December 1983. In 1939, Ajashi married Baba Funke Tenabe, a fellow educator. They had 4 children, including Olajumoke Anifowoshi, who later served as Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Ondo State. Ajashi's commitment to democracy was evident in the 1990s when he became a leading figure in the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, advocating for the restoration of democracy and the recognition of MKO Abiola's electoral mandate. His activism led to his arrest in 1995 under General Sani Abacha's regime. In recognition of his contributions, Ondo State University was renamed Adekunle Ajashi University in 2000. His governance style, marked by simplicity and incorruptibility, remains a benchmark in Nigerian politics, as he once stated. And I quote, "I came into office in October 1979 with a set of my own rich native dresses and left office in December 1983 with the same set of dresses. No addition, no subtraction." His legacies continue to linger in memories, generation after generation.
Okay, it has been a wonderful journey on the Outlook this morning, and this is where we draw the curtain for today. Hopefully next week we'll be back. I'm from Osrc.
Yes, like we always say, anything worth doing is worth doing. Well, be a patriotic citizen and know that your name is your pride. So guard it.
So your name is your pride. My name is Alex Adejoye. See you next week. Goodbye.